Welcome to the next episode of Fish Bites, put on by the Explore the Ocean World Oceanarium. My name's Ellen Goethel, and today we're going to be talking about horseshoe crabs. They're my favorite animal in the world. They've been around for over 250 million years, long before the dinosaurs were on the earth, and they've survived everything and all the other animals. Their scientific name is Limulus polyphemus, and they are in a class all by themselves, class Meristomata, subclass Malacostraca. And horseshoe crabs have a really interesting life cycle, but let's go to their body parts first. This one seems to want to turn over. His head is here, that's called a cephalothorax. This is their abdomen right here, and this is their tail or telson. They have, that's on the dorsal side, they have a lot of eyes. Horseshoe crabs have two compound eyes right here. They look very similar to insect eyes, and they see hundreds of images the same as an insect. They have two tiny little dots, one on each side of this central ridge. Those are called simple eyes, and they see in black and white, but they also see other spectrum that humans' eyes can't see. They have a hinge right here that helps them move their body parts, and when you turn them over, this is the ventral side. They have a mouth right here. These are their legs. Their legs look a lot like spider legs, and that's because spiders and arachnids, scorpions, are their closest living relatives. They are not directly related, but they're close, and they have these little things that look like pages of a book right on their abdomen. On the underside, those are called book gills. They're very similar to the book lungs of spiders. They exchange oxygen and bring it into their body. Now the tail is a very strange looking thing. Everyone's frightened of it. It's actually just a tail, and they use it for one thing, and that is, well, two things actually: to turn themselves over when they're upside down. It doesn't sting. They never use it to harm another animal, but it's very important to them because when they flip upside down by a wave or another animal, they're very vulnerable. Anything could come along and eat them. So when they flip upside down, they take their tail, they stab it in the sand, and that helps flip them over. So that protects them. They also use their tail when they're swimming to navigate, but mostly that tail is to help them turn over. Now, I said that their mouth is here. Their mouth is a series of little tiny bristles, and they're attached to the end of each leg, kind of like their knees. And in order to eat, they have to grab a soft shell clam or a worm, stick it between their knees, and then walk and chew and grind it with those little protrusions. They're called chelicerata. That's their mouth parts. We'll see if he'll. Now, horseshoe crabs are not crustaceans. They're not related to crabs and lobsters. They don't have claws. As I said, they're Malacostraca. But they do have an exoskeleton. This right here, their outer shell, is called an exoskeleton. Exoskeletons are unique. They don't grow. So in order to grow, any animal with an exoskeleton has to molt or crack open, and in the case of a horseshoe crab, they crack right here along the inside of their shell. They crawl out of it slowly. They pull out all their body parts, their legs, their mouth parts, their tail, and they push it aside. Once they crawl out, they blow themselves up full of water like a water balloon and stretch out that skin. It's very soft. They hide for a week or two so that they can protect themselves because they're very vulnerable. They're very soft right after they molt. During that time, their body gives off a chemical called a hormone, and that hormone turns the outside layer of their skin hard, turns it into a new exoskeleton, and they can grow. They'll have lots of room in there to grow for the next year or so. Now, most scientists believe that horseshoe crabs molt until they become adults, and then they stop molting. Some scientists think that they don't stop molting, but that's a matter of opinion. So, when a horseshoe crab is an adult, the female looks just like this. All their legs look the same. On the end of each leg, they have a little two two little forceps, and those help them walk. The hind legs, pair of hind legs, look like ski poles, and that's exactly what they are. They use them just like ski poles to push themselves along the bottom. Now the male horseshoe crabs, when they're adults, their first pair of legs develop, it looks like a boxing glove or a hook, and that's to help them in mating, and this is a very important thing for them. Horseshoe crabs, when they're adults, they come into the same salt marsh that they were hatched in the first full moon of late May, early June, and lay their eggs. The males arrive first and stay in the water. The females come right up a week or two later, and the males will grab with those hooks onto these movable spines on the back of their skeleton and grab on. Females sometimes can have 3 or 4 males hanging on. They pull those males up onto the rocky, sandy area where they're going to lay their eggs, and then the males fertilize them. And the first male fertilizes, and then all the rest do also. Those eggs, when they lay them, look like tiny little groups of grapes. They're very gelatinous, and they'll hatch in a few weeks. And when they do, they stay in the salt marsh, and they eat all the plankton that's available in the salt marsh, and that salt marsh is critical to these animals. But those eggs are also critical to another group of animals. The horseshoe crabs lay their eggs on the east coast of the United States from Maine down to Mexico, and they lay them in the spring right along the East Coast Flyway for the migrating birds that are going from South America up to the Arctic. And those migrating birds stop on the east coast of the United States, and they fill themselves full of horseshoe crab eggs, which are really high in fat, and that gives them enough energy to make it all the way to the Arctic. So these animals are critical to the East Coast Flyway and all the survival of the species of birds. As the horseshoe crab numbers decrease, we've seen a decrease in the number of the migrating birds, so it's very important to keep these animals healthy. So they're doing well. They're protected by NOAA, the National Marine Fisheries Service, and I think that we're going to see them for a long, long time. I'll hold him up so you can get a better look. There's his dorsal side, and he's turning around because he thinks he's going to need to flip over. There's his ventral side. You can see his mouth in there. And we're going to stick him back in the water shortly. If you have any questions about horseshoe crabs, please email me at exploretheoceanworld@hotmail.com. Check out the other videos on Fish Bites. It's at YouTube at Explore the Ocean World Oceanarium, or on Facebook at Explore the Ocean World LLC. I hope you enjoyed this video and the ones to come. Enjoy the ocean.